Hello and good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution episode where we at 543. Happy Monday. It's getting warmer. We saw the sun on Saturday. It was like over a week. So that was nice. Very windy yesterday. I considered grilling last night, but it was just extremely windy. So did not fire up the grill. Threw in a frozen pizza. Uh so I have a few topics that I wanted to touch on today. I want to give you my retail buying strategies because this is something that's kind of recently been my new strategy of how I approach buying retail and what I'm buying. So I want to share what I do, and it's good for both my enjoyment as well as potential business. I want to touch on that along the buying front as far as sealed wax. We'll talk WWE Prism. I ran some numbers, and hobby box prices are even more than what they were at release, and the singles prices are even less than what I thought they would be. So I am like, whew, thanking my lucky stars I did not buy even at $300-400 less than the current prices a hobby box of WWE Prism or multiple hobby boxes, because I think that would have been an easy not easy well yeah an easy loss. So I'll share some numbers on WWE Prism. Um, and I looked at a collection yesterday, kind of burying the lead. But I didn't buy it, so it's kind of like I'll just share my thoughts and how I approached this particular collection. But I will say it's not out of the realm of possibility. I may circle back. So it's a process. So I'll go into this collection and where I stand, where they stand, and what it all entails. I left yesterday with saying I'll pass, but keep me posted because I've kind of helped them along the way, feel out what they have, how to price things. I shared the Center Stage app with them when I was at their house yesterday, showed them how that worked. And they've had others look at the collection as well. And it's funny that they said, I'll just start with this since I'm going into it. Before I get into it, Jenny, what's up? Good morning. Abraham, good morning. The Brew Crew, the Brewers, they won. The Cubs won the series, and I was actually telling the couple that I was at their house yesterday looking at the collection, Brewers fans here in Madison, and he was wearing his Brewers shirt. I was wearing a Cubs shirt. Um, and I said, even though the Cubs have won the first two games, I think it's false hope for Cubs. I think it's going to be a long season. I still think the Cubs are only going to win 75 games. It's going to be a rough season for the Chicago Cubs, and I think Milwaukee will rebound, and I think the Brewers will have a good season. Victor, good morning. John, what's up? Nice to be able to catch it live. I'm glad you could jump in. Zach, good morning. Ed, happy Monday to you. Jenny says it's going to be interesting to see how many are selling out. Lots going on over Twitterverse of people overspending. I did notice that. I saw a couple tweets over the last few days of people trying to, cash out essentially, saying some even admitted that they've overspent. And I have feelings. As I've seen those and just looking at my own numbers, I am a little fearful of the direction of the hobby, but I want to save that topic for maybe tomorrow or later this week. I do have some thoughts on that, and I do have, and it also kind of goes in with this collection that I'm going to talk about here right now, and another reason why I chose to not purchase it. OG, what's up? Good morning to you. Straight execution. Word is a little shill bidding might be happening also. Interesting. Well, with WWE Prism, yeah, I don't know if it was shill bidding, but it was somebody came in and there. So with WWE Prism, there was a John Cena color blast that somebody had listed it at auction. It sold for X amount. Somebody had swooped in and also pulled a John Cena and priced it under the auction or whatever. It sold for like $4,000 less. And then the buyer of the auction said, no thanks. And that's a definite big flaw to eBay. So I'm going to talk more about WWE Prism in just a bit. But I want to talk about this collection I bought yesterday, or collection I looked at yesterday, did not buy yesterday. The couple reached out to me a little over a month ago, maybe even 2 months ago. They saw my ad on Facebook about the Madison Card Show. So they reached out and just kind of had some questions because they're not in the hobby. So the husband's father had passed away unexpectedly back in December. And so he was a collector. And so the initial email was, "What's up, Diego?" The initial email was, the wife had emailed me, "My father-in-law passed away. We have this collection. It's a lot. It's overwhelming." So I said, and I always, when I get these calls and emails, my first inkling is it's probably a bunch of 80s and 90s, and it's probably not worth much. So my first thing is, well, can you send me some pictures and I can, get a rough idea of what you may have. So they sent me some stuff and they had already, before reaching out, they had already kind of done their own homework, looking prices up, kind of studying the hobby market, grading and all that stuff. So they had by the time they reached out to me, they kind of knew a little way to go. And now they're like, what are our options to cash out? They send me, kind of a list of some of the top cards. They sent me some pictures, and it was a very it was an impressive collection. Not over, I think I put in the description, not overwhelming, but certainly not underwhelming. There was a lot of, a whole like 2-3 row box of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant cards, and there were some inserts and the Michael Jordan Beam team. So Kobe rookies. So there was a significant amount of decent cards. They had pulled out. There was a Peyton Manning rookie chrome refractor, a Peyton Manning rookie. What else was in there? There were some older rookies, not vintage, but probably the oldest card I saw, like 78 tops, Tony Dorsett rookies, Joe Montana rookie, Ricky Henderson rookie, but not too much in the way of 70s and 80s. Just kind of a small pile. Most of it was actually 90s into the 2000s. There was even some recent stuff from last year. So I just kind of they'd already had a couple people come over and look. They had pulled like, okay, these are some higher end cards. So I went through and looked through a couple of the boxes. I had pulled out some cards that I had looked up. There was a Ken Griffey Jr. I think it was a Flair die cut that sells for $100 to $150. So I said, this goes in the pile of highlighted cards. There was a couple other random cards that I just wanted to tell them these are probably $50 cards as opposed to dollar cards, because they were all mixed in. Like a lot of them were sorted by players, but it was like some common Ken Griffey Jr. 91 Fleer next to a $150 insert. So I just wanted to point out, okay, this is some of the others, a few bucks, couple bucks, maybe $1, but some of these are higher end. So they just want to know what the next step. They don't, it's taking up their entire dining room with boxes. There was also a bunch of original Garbage Pail Kids. So my advice was to maximize the money and minimize your time spent was sell off the higher end cards, the Beam Team Jordan, the Garbage Pail, the binder of Garbage Pail Kids, sell it as a set or a lot. That will net you a good money. And then the rest just bulk out. However, there's a catch 22. Once you pull some of those higher end cards, now the bulk lot is going to diminish significantly. So if you don't have the higher end to really draw in somebody to buy it all, you kind of lose that edge. Um, the issue that they've had with not issue, but with a couple of the other people that looked at it was, they were only interested in, a couple of the cards. Like, this is, one of the people, their forte was the 70s and 80s rookie cards. They would be interested in those, but not the more modern stuff. Somebody else was more interested in only the Jordans. Somebody else was only interested in something else. I think somebody else was, hemming and hawing and not sure, kind of like I was. So, as far as my personal thoughts on buying it, I would be a buyer, but my concern is it's a little more than what I want to spend right now. I want to keep cash on hand as I'm starting this business, and I don't want to put all my cash into inventory. I have enough inventory that I need to continue listing, continue to building up. And at this point in time, at this point in my business, I'm not ready to commit to that big of a purchase. And I'm a little skeptical of where the hobby is headed, as Jenny alluded to, with people wanting to cash out. The more people that cash out, there's less buyers, and there's less sales and all that. So another reason was my goal, and this is why I stick to lower end bulk buys, because when my purchase price is only a couple hundred up to $1,000, and say even $1,000 collection or bulk lot, usually there's a few items in there that are 100, 200 bucks that I can sell quickly and get closer to break even. Getting close to break even is the best, so then you can, the quicker you get to break even, the quicker you start making profit. This particular collection, while it's very nice and it has a lot of probably thousands of cards that are $20 to $50, but the overall price tag on this collection, it's going to take me a lot of sales to get to that break even point. There were, just a handful of $100 plus cards. And actually, the more I think about it, there maybe 50. But it would be a lot of work, because once you get that, and I don't know if the $100 plus cards would even get me to a break even point, and how long would that take? How long is my money tied up? Now, if there was $1,000 card, or a couple $1,000 cards, that would make it a little more the pill easier to swallow. But when you're dealing with bulk of to get there, now it's like, and here I am, I'm a bulk buyer. I'll drop 200 bucks, but I'm getting 15,000 cards, and yeah, it's a lot of work to get there, but I don't have much cash outlay. This would be a significant cash outlay. So that's why I decided at the time. How we left it was they're really in no rush to get rid of it. Now, I will say I do want this collection, but I need to bulk up my bank account, and can I do that in the next month, or the next 6 weeks, the next 2 months? So that's kind of what I'm okay. Here's my numbers. How can I get there? Is it even viable within the next month to 2 months? So that's something I'm going to continue to think about. The lines of communication remain open. How I left it was, yes, I am definitely interested in this lot to buy. This is a price range that I'm comfortable with, and I think that's a number they're comfortable with. But at this time, I'm out. So if other people are interested, before you sell it, I will, I'd be happy to advise on if I think that's, even though I'm an interested buyer. So take my opinion as that. But I do think, because I have a number in mind, and I would not want them to sell it too low, and I would not want to lose out on something that went lower than what I would value it at, personally. And I'm a grinder, so I think that it's kind of like the main reason why I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't know because it's going to take a long time. Yes, there's a lot of great cards in here, but it's going to take a lot of time and it's a lot of cash to throw out there. And I think that's probably why others are reluctant to putting the money down as well. I wish I was in a if this were 6 months ago, as I was approaching to go full time, say July, August, September, totally. I would have probably paid them on the spot. I would have probably went over, looked at it. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's the money. Let's go. But I'm not in that place anymore. So so that was the collection. So it's I'm driving home and I'm just through my head. I've got the Rolodex of cards that I flip through. There's thousands of cards I didn't even look at. And it's like, man, wouldn't it be fun to like, not even know, some of this other stuff that's in there or discover other cards that, I didn't know. So that was, it's disappointing, but at the same time, it's like I'm driving home, like, man, I'm disappointed that I'm not going to buy this. But at the same time, I think if I drove home, less that cash, I would be really nervous and anxious because I just dropped the most money I would have ever dropped on cards. And now it's like the pressure's on to turn this around. And I just bought a pallet of cards that I'm still only halfway through. Trying to get rid of that. So that's where we're at. So I'm going to go back to the chat if there's any comments regarding this. If there's other comments, I'll swing back. Let's see. OG says just went to opening day in Anaheim. Nice. Otani pitched opening day, had a great experience. That's awesome. Let's see. I would think the opposite of 80s and 90s if it was someone's dad that passed, and that's what I thought as well. Because he probably, I would say, just judging on their age, he was probably in his 70s. I don't know. You don't know, but I would say that age. So yeah, that's I was thinking. So may have been a newer collector or because it was an interesting mix. Like it was a collection that I don't think any of us would have expected based on the contents because it was like there was a handful of random 70s and 80s cards and I'm talking like maybe a stack like this, not many at all. And none were they were all like rookies. Um, I don't even think there were any 80s cards outside of, some of the rookie cards. And then it was really filled with a lot of 90s, like mid, not early. Like I don't think there were any early 90s either. Like mid 90s all the way into the present. So I'd say like probably 92 because there was a lot of Shaq, Jordan, stuff like that. So early to mid 90s all the way to 2021. Looked like he had opened some boxes of 2021. There was like a Patrick Mahomes jersey card. So it was just it was interesting, and there was no like direction to it either. It wasn't like a collector of, although there was heavy Jordan, Kobe, but other than that, it was just a few a stack here, a stack there of every different player. So it was a very unique mix of cards, which is I like. I mean it's variety. I like the variety, especially when it comes to filling an eBay store. If I do change my mind and decide to buy it, it would be great content for. There were some graded. There were a stack of like generic graded cards like WCG or something. It's like these are basically, if you want to look at comparisons, it's going to be raw copies because this is an illegitimate grading company. But then there were some, like there was a Derek Jeter rookie. I think it was an 8 and a Beckett 8 maybe. There were a couple Ken Griffey Jr. Slabs. One I found very interesting. It was a 89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. and it was a 3. It was a Beckett 3. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, this is pretty nice. So I looked at the subgrades. The subgrades were all 9s except for Surface got a 3. And I'm like, putting it in the light, like, how in the hell did the Surface get a 3? Like, it was all night. It was 9993. And then so the overall grade was maybe a 4. The overall grade was a 3 or 4 because I was like, what the hell? This is strange. And so I looked at the back on the subgrades. So it's just a random, unique mix of cards. Zach says, P and me have been busy organizing a few collections gifted to us, not back to trading. Proposed 6 trades on TCDB, almost all accepted already. That's pretty cool. 2022 Topps White Sox. OG says, do you get excited when looking through collections? It's fun digging through boxes. Yeah, that's a fun question because not really. I get excited looking through my own, like if I purchased it and brought it home and looked through it, I would be excited. But going over to someone's house and looking through a collection, it's business. It's basically business. And I don't get excited. But if I buy something like the palette from Goodwill, I'm like a little kid going through it. But if it's somebody else's cards, it's kind of like cars. I'm not a car guy, which is weird because my dad and my brother are both gearheads. Some people love driving cars. Like, I have no interest in driving somebody else's car. If I rent a car and, I rented a nice car out in Arizona and it was fun to drive. But I'm just not my father-in-law who passed away. His daily driver was a Maserati, and awesome car, awesome car. And it's like people would like, oh, how many have you driven it? How, it's like, no, I drove it one time. He wanted to. I had an SUV, and he needed it to haul some stuff. He's like, hey, do you want to trade cards? Cards. Do you want to trade cars for the day? I'm like, sure. I'll drive a Maserati around. But I'm just not like it. Driving other people's cars, looking through other people's collections doesn't excite me. Let's see. Jenny says, I see where this is going, what Bo probably offered. Zach says, I may have a trade for the 86 Canseco rated rookie. Very cool. That sweet stash. Yeah, that was like $100 card in 89, which was crazy. I wonder if sellers would rather barter and sell to a collector versus someone selling. That's another great question. So as we discussed, as we emailed back and forth early on, initially with this particular collection, I told them up front. I said, I would be interested. I buy collections, but full disclosure, I do this full time. So because I do know some people, and I've had some people ask back when it was just a hobby. The Craigslist collection that I bought, a few years ago now. He asked me, are you a dealer? And I'm like, no. And I don't know if he was just curious or if he would have preferred not to sell to a dealer, because I do know some people don't want to sell to dealers or full-time collectors because they feel they might get slighted. But the thing is, it's like, and I've told in this particular instance, it's like, you're going to make if money's the factor, if you're looking to make the most money on this, you're going to have to piece it out, but it's also going to be a lot of work. So that's kind of, and they're like, we just want to get rid of it all. Like, preferably all in, we don't want to piece it out. We just want to sell it all in one transaction. And they understand the business of it, that, most anybody that's going to buy a collection that size is going to be a reseller. And so, they're going to make less because there's got to be enough meat on the bone for the person they sell to. So, Straight Execution says 89 Griffey holograms are never done well, kills grades. I wonder, is that maybe why the Surface would get a low grade? Because I do know the holograms really ruin the grades on that. So I'm wondering why the Surface on this particular, the hologram was intact. But yeah, the Surface got a 3. I was surprised. I'm going to buy my 3-year-old nephew a Power Lamborghini. That's sweet. Do team baseball stickers from 80s and 90s sell? I don't know. I've never tried. Maybe, probably. I think everything sells on eBay. Some of the things that I've sold, it's like, give it a shot. I haven't looked into that, but I've got boxes of them, so maybe I should give it. I will say that I have down here I have a box of, gosh, there's got to be 1,000 or more of, and this was from the Craigslist, and I sell these like almost every day. Um, Team stickers. These are from like 1976 Fleer NFL stickers. There was an entire shoebox, and I sell them all the time, and they sell, some sell for $3. I have a lot listed for like $1, 50. Um, let's see. I'm gonna go back up here. What's up, DR? Good morning to you. I learned my ComC lesson of the year. If you see a card you like at a price you like, don't try to negotiate. Oh, after sending an offer for 40 on a 47 card, the guy raised to 129. That sucks. What's up, Jeremy? DR says I would have been happy to pay the 47, so I should have just done it. Let's see. Victor, I've had some of the stickers on my eBay since December, haven't moved any yet. Okay, well, there's the answer. Yeah, the logo on the back might have been incomplete or way off center. Johnny Boy Cards, good morning to you. OG, did you sell Brett the Hit? I don't know. Who was the seller? Put them on blast. Regarding DR's ComC seller. Let's see. So that was the collection I looked at yesterday. Fun stuff. Let's go into my strategy to buying retail, and then I'll go into WWE Prism. So this is a fairly recent. Strategy that I've employed for me personally, and it hits kind of both entertainment side for me as well as the business side for me. So I on Friday I went and I bought some Topps Chrome Overtime Elite. I bought 3 blaster boxes. There was a bunch on the shelf. There was a bunch of cards on the shelf, but some of it was Topps Series 1, and I've done plenty of that. Some was Topps Heritage, and I opened a hobby box, so I was good there. And Heritage blasters kind of stink, so I shied away. And then there was just a ton of like wild card football, pro set football, just stuff I'm really not interested in. So I did want, and really the only reason I went to Walmart to look at cards was I wanted to pick up a few of these Overtime Elite Chrome hobby boxes. First Chrome basketball in what, a decade? It's Overtime Elite. Some of these, so this is kind of it's basically like a minor league for the NBA. So these kids are, high school age, college age. A couple of, there's like the Thompson twins, not to be confused with the 80s band. The Thompson twins, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Osar, I think, and his brother's name, I can't remember. But the Thompson twins, they're in here, and there's Jalen Green. No, I think he's a rookie in the NBA. Jalen somebody. So there's some names that are potential lottery picks next year. So it's a product that you can just let simmer. So it's kind of a gamble. So my strategy for this was I want to open it because the cards look cool. Jalen Lewis, thank you, David. The cards look cool. The singles may sell, but I also want to leave some sealed. So I bought 3, and I'll probably, if I make another run this week and there's some on the shelf, I'll probably buy more because I'd like to open a couple blasters. And I will do a video later this week, and I do promise I'll get that Howard the Duck nostalgia break done. I'm going to make time. It only takes 5 to 10 minutes. I'm gonna make time probably tomorrow. And I'll do a nostalgia break, and then I also want to do one of these blaster boxes. So my strategy is I'm gonna buy blasters that I either want to open now. So that's number one. So if it's so when Bowman comes out, I'm gonna rip the hell out of Bowman when it comes out at retail, and hopefully I can find some on the shelves. So when Bowman comes out, I'm gonna buy it because it's Bowman. I love Bowman. Bowman blasters is the best bang for your buck when it comes to retail. So Bowman releases, I think the street date is April 27th, so a couple of weeks away. So I'm all in on Bowman. But when it comes to other products, like when Ginter comes out, I probably won't buy a hobby box of Ginter, but it's one of my favorite products. I'll probably pick up 2 or 3 blaster boxes just to scratch that itch. Same with Topps Archives. And Archives, again, maybe even better bang for your buck with Bowman. Probably not, because Bowman hobby boxes are like a Bowman hobby box, 2022 Bowman hobby box presale, $400. Let that sink in. 400. 5 years ago, they were 65, 70, $75. $400. So a $20, $25 blaster box, take it all day. Anyway, uh, so um, boxes that I products that I'll rip now, or if I was lucky enough to get like a football or basketball prism whenever it comes out, I would buy those and probably just sit on until football season. Because I do, especially early on in the NFL season, I like to rip football on Sundays. And then by the time like December rolls around, I'm done with football. I'm ready for Series 1 baseball. So, and I did buy a couple weeks ago. So this is part of my strategy. Like, I'll just buy product that I'll sit on for now, and maybe the product increases in price and I can flip it sealed, next year, or when football season comes around, and maybe the retail boxes I can double my money, or I'm not out anything if I want to rip it, so I can rip or flip, and I don't feel bad. But if it's a product that I don't even want to rip, so this is why that I'm taking that strategy, because if it's a product I don't want to rip, like hockey or soccer, like if I bought hockey or soccer just to sit on, I'm never gonna rip it because I don't like hockey and soccer cards. And then if there's no increase in price, and I'm now stuck with soccer and hockey at a loss, and I don't even want to rip it. So that's my strategy of I'm only going to buy cards that I'm comfortable with ripping. If there's no flip in 6 or 9 months and I'm comfortable, I can hold on to sealed wax. Yeah, I get the itch. I've got a bunch of Bowman mega boxes from last year where it's like, oh man, I want to rip into this, but I hold off. And the more pallets I buy from Goodwill, the more time I spend on that stuff. It keeps me away from like even the Overtime Elite. Like, usually in the past, like when I've gone to Walmart, Target, bought retail, like as soon as I get home, I'm ripping into it. But now I've got other, bulk buys that are taking up my time. And I just picked up 15,000 cards from Saturday's card show that I've got to still bring into the house because I don't have room down here because of the Goodwill pallet. I still have cards from the Goodwill pallet in the back of my SUV. My SUV is like completely filled. I need to make room down here. So that's my strategy, where I'm going to buy retail, whether I decide to rip it, or if I can double my money, I'll just flip it if it's a product that I don't really care to rip. Now, with Bowman in a couple weeks, I'm going to buy as much Bowman as I can, and I'm going to rip every dang box because I love Bowman. But Overtime Elite, I'm going to rip one box. I bought 3 blasters. I'm going to rip one, and I'm going to put 2 on the shelf, save for a rainy day. It's a product that it could be a boom or a bust. Some of these guys, if they become lottery picks in 2023, there may be huge demand for these blaster boxes. They could sell for $100 a blaster. You never know. These guys might not pan out, and they have a bad year, and they're second round picks, and nobody wants them. And it's like, oh, there's nobody in those Overtime Elite Chrome boxes. They're crap. So, but I still think they're fun to open. So that's my strategy moving forward on some of these blaster boxes in retail buys. Let's see. DR says, I won't name names, but I will say that there was a market disconnect with their pricing. I should have paid the listing price. I just didn't want to load more money into ComC to do it. Let's see. I should have happily taken the price. They reverted back above the mean of prices. There you go. Not gonna lie, offers can have someone look a card up for the first time. Yeah, that's very real. So I'm done with my strategy on retail talk. I'm going to talk about Prism, but I do want to piggyback off what Jenny said in regards to DR. So yeah, that's a very smart. play is if you see a really good deal, jump on it. So I have a personal experience as a seller, and this was 10 years ago, maybe even longer. I worked at a radio station, and we had actually, so this was, I worked at every radio station I worked at ended up selling. Um, this was the third radio station sale I went through. And this was the biggie. This was, well, the first one was a biggie as well, but I actually had a job lined up and it only cost me like a month of employment. But this was a biggie because I stayed with the company, but I switched markets. So, excuse me. So in this instance, we were cleaning out the radio station, and basically we had a bunch of junk in their eyes, but hey, as a digger and a hoarder, it was right up my alley. I was, as people were throwing stuff in the dumpster, I was diving into the dumpster, pulling it out and putting it in my car and selling it on eBay. So we had uh just shelves and shelves of CDs. Most of them were promo CDs, and I actually still have some random ones in my unfinished storage area. So I'm like, I bet I can probably sell some of these on eBay. So I pulled like 10 out, and like Michael Jackson, Madonna, promo CDs given away to radio stations. Well, the Michael Jackson, I put it on auction, 7-day auction, 99 cent starting bid. Actually, it might have been like a $10 starting bid because I thought um, it was I thought that it might have been worth, more than, if it only sold for 99 cents, I probably would have been unhappy. So anyway, um, so I put 99 cent auction, and all of a sudden, like within like a few hours, I had 2 or 3 messages like, "Hey, will you sell the Michael Jackson CD on its own?" So I'm like, "No, no, I'm not interested in doing that. I'm just going to let the auction ride." There were no bids. Okay, so I don't feel I did anything shady in this instance. Again, this was like 12 years ago. Actually, no, this was 14 years ago. This was in 2008. This was when our radio station sold, and I moved to the new market. So this was in 2008. Um, so after getting 2 of these messages, I'm like, I'm gonna look this up. So this Michael Jackson, it was with Michael Jordan, Jam, and these CDs had been selling at the time for anywhere between $200 and $300 for the one CD. So I took the auction down again. 0 bids. There was not a single bid. Had there been a bid, if one of these people, so here's why I'm linking these stories together. If somebody had just put in a 99 cent bid, the auction would have rolled and they might have picked it up for $1 or 20 or maybe 50. But I pulled the auction down and I listed separately. I think I sold the Michael Jackson CD for 200. The Madonna sold for like 75. There were a couple other CDs that sold for, maybe $20 here, $20 there. A few didn't sell. They're still in my storage area. But yeah, so sometimes when people in piggybacking on what Jenny said, when people ask questions, and I've had listings in the past where people will send me a message and they're like, "Hey, is this variation?" And maybe I have it listed for $1.50, and I'm like, "Oh crap, this is a different variation." So by them messaging me, they could spend $1.50 on a card, and I'm gonna send it and have no idea. But when they reach out and they're like, "Hey, is this variation?" and I see, oops, and nobody bids, nobody buys. As a seller, you're free to reprice it and catch it. So um, now moving along those lines, like if you're at a card shop and something's priced at $1, and it's a $50 card, and you go up and want to buy it, and you show it to the card shop. Now that's wrong. If the card shop owner would say, "Oh no, you're gonna have to pay $50 for that," that's completely, in my eyes, that's different. So yeah, so that's sometimes too many questions will end up you'll lose out on a deal. Let's see. Straight Execution says Top Series 2 could be a banger. Wait to see the checklist for that. Yeah, Top Series 2 and Update are going to be absolutely loaded because Tops now, we've got Spencer Torkelson, rookie logo, Bobby Witt Jr., rookie logo. So we know at some point these guys will be in products in 2022 because they have the rookie logo and not the call-up logo, which is, when you make the opening day roster, you're gonna get into a product and they're gonna make make ways to get them into Series 2, in my opinion. Series 2 is a little earlier release now in the COVID era, but I still think it's June 8th, I think, is street date. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see at least a couple of the players. I think Bobby Witt Jr., book him for Series 2. I think maybe Torkelson, Series 2. I wouldn't be CJ Abrams, I think, is definitely going to be held back for Topps Update because he didn't officially make the roster until the last minute, and it was kind of a surprise, I guess. I don't think it was fully expected. So I wouldn't be surprised if they held back like a CJ Abrams, maybe even Julio Rodriguez, although he's a big name. Let's see. So yeah, I'm excited for Series 2 and Update. DR says, when Select and Prism Basketball came out, once I was able to find it, flipped it that day and bought the Charles Woodson PSA graded rookies with the profit. That was sweet. Definitely. How many Suzuki Topps Now rookies did you pick up for his card number 1 as well as card number 2? Just one. I actually, in fact, I bought the whole set for that day, all 7 cards, because there was a Bobby Witt Jr. in there. There was, I think, a Spencer Torkelson. There was also another Cub. There were 2 Cubs cards in that 7-card set. So basically, I'll keep the 2 Cubs cards and I'll put the other 5 on eBay and just try to recoup some of that money. And I use some of my Topps points on that as well. So let's see. Didn't you sell some CDs? Yes. So Dan, Dan, great memory. So it was the same. It was not the same buyer, but it was the same bunch of promo CDs. So that came along. The damaged CDs, that whole debacle happened after the Michael Jackson Madonna, because that was one of my first sales once I moved to Madison. So I think those CDs were some of the leftover, because that was 2014 and the initial sales were 2008. So I think that was just stuff I had left over in my storage shed. That caused basically that several transactions from caused me to start an entirely new eBay account, because my standards and I multiple phone calls, hours on the phone with eBay. That was just an absolute mess. They told me, oh, well, you can create, because they limited me to 5 transactions per month, 5 sales per month. Well, you can open as many as 6 accounts. So eBay was and again, this was almost 10 years ago, encouraging you to open multiple eBay accounts, selling accounts, which I feel is shady, but to get around some of that, that's the only option I had. And I stuck with one, built it up, and there we go. Let's see. Jenny says, yes, variations. Ron Darling rookie apparently has a no number error. It sure does. There's many. Not many, but there's a few. Mike Stenhouse is another in that set. 84 Donruss. I think Tony Fernandez has a no number rookie, rated rookie. So I know there's at least 3. Stenhouse, Darling, and Fernandez. And I'm sure there's more. How many of them rookies hit Chrome versus Chrome Update? I think basically Chrome, and I don't know the timeline on those releases, but I think if they're in Series 2, I think they'll hit Chrome. Anybody who's in Update will be in Chrome Update. And here's why people are financially too deep in the hobby. I will never spend $500 on a hobby box of Chrome. Yeah, that's just, some of these prices are insane, which I'm going to get into on WWE Prism here in just a second after I catch up with the Last of these comments, I don't buy any Chrome at all. I rather spend it on a couple of Cubs cards. There you go. I like that. Suzuki got fastball Freddie good, but Devin Williams put him to sleep. Suzuki with a home run yesterday. Love it. Card hobbyist, good morning. DR, do you do anything specific at the end of the first business quarter of the year? No. I track all of my numbers daily, so I have and then I look at the quarterly numbers and compare. So, but I don't do anything specific. I'm tracking a lot of the analytics on a daily basis, so I have a pretty good idea of how the quarters and months shake out. Which I do want to share because I do run these, and especially sell through rates. I think the sell through rate is the number one analytic that shows you the state of the hobby. February, March 2021, 2.3%. Right now, I'm at 0.68%, and it's actually trended down over the last month. I'm going to share that later this week, maybe tomorrow, on my thoughts on where the hobby is headed, because I'm a little I've got a little anxiety on where the hobby is headed over the next several months. And hopefully I'm wrong. I was wrong during COVID. I thought, oh man, this is going to kill the hobby, and it actually brought it to heights we've never seen before. So I'm very happy that I was very, very wrong on that. So hopefully I'm very, very wrong on this thought. WWE Prism. I think it was $950 per hobby box at release. Since then, they have gone up. Blowout cards, which I always reference blowout cards. That's where I do most of my, if I buy sealed wax, I buy it from Blowout. It's typically within like $10 of all other, the big three, which is Blowout cards, Steel City, and Dave and Adams. Typically all within $5-10 of each other. And then there's some others that are out there, but basically, if you look at one of those, and you can look at whichever website you wish, it's all, I think it's fair, whether you go to Steel City or Dave and Adams, it's all going to be the same. I didn't check those websites, but I'm sure they're at the same price as Blowout. Blowout hobby box prices as of this morning, $1,350 for a hobby box that contains 144 cards. That is $9.38 per card. Now, I thought at $950 to $1,000, I thought, hey, this is going to be a good buy. WWE Prism hobby boxes, first year Prism, WWE. Wrestling didn't really see that spike in interest that other sports and even other non-major sports saw during the 2020 and 2021 years. So I was expecting wrestling cards to see a breakout. And I think we have started to see a little uptick in WWE in wrestling cards in general. AEW Upper Deck has seen a big popularity as well. But I just kind of, it's like, I dragged my feet on it. But David Peck had tweeted out on Tuesday night, there was, some product being opened on Tuesday of WWE Prism. Street date was Wednesday. One of the sales was a Gable Steveson base Prism rookie, sold for $25. And Gable Steveson is basically the Wander Franco, Bobby Witt Jr. of WWE wrestling. He is a two-time NCAA national champion, has not even debuted. He's still a prospect in wrestling terms. He's still a prospect, but he's got the rookie logo on Prism. This could be a huge card one day. Still could be. But when I saw $25, I thought that was extremely low. I thought this was going to be a $50 to $100 base card at release, and then it would settle at $25. But when it comes out of the gate at $25, you're going to settle at $10. That's what you're paying on average. And it's a 200 card. And here's another. So, and Braun Breaker is another. I would say Gable Steveson is the Jason Dominguez of wrestling, and Braun Breaker is the Wander Franco, because Braun Breaker is actually, he's an NXT champion. He is wrestling currently on TV. Gable Steveson is just coming out of college in his NCAA championship, and he's still in the minor leagues essentially. Braun Breakers rookies are selling a little bit more so the Gable Steveson night before release $25 sale. Since then, as of this morning and in the last couple of days of sales, they've settled in at $15 to $20 for Gable Steveson. Braun Breakers rookie cards, $20 to $25. He's kind of the top. That's the top. That's the highest base card, $20 to $25. And you're thinking, well, that's pretty good for a base card. But again, remember, you're paying $9.38 per card. You may not even get a Braun Breaker or Gable Steveson in your hobby box because there's 144 cards in a hobby box. I think there's 24 parallels per hobby box. So the base cards, so you're getting what? 120 base prism cards. 200 card checklist. And there's probably inserts, so you're probably getting less than that. So there's a good chance that probably a 50% chance you don't even receive one of those 2 cards in a hobby box. So 200 card checklist, and so I'm talking about the highlights. The top 2 cards. There's also some other big names. Hulk Hogan, I think I didn't write it down, but I think his base card is selling for around $10 to $15. The Rock, The Undertaker, those guys are in there as well. So those are also going to be on the higher end. But out of the 200 card checklist, there's a lot of wrestlers that just get no wrestling hobby love. So I used one example. I just picked out a random no-name wrestler, not no-name, but somebody that is not a wrestling hobby darling. Ridge Holland. Okay, so I saw 2, and these are parallels. So remember, you're paying $9.38 per card, and most of those cards are going to be base prism cards. A Ridge Holland, if you pulled a red numbered to $2.99, one just sold for $2.25. A red parallel numbered to $2.99, $2.25 shipped. That includes shipping. $2.25 shipped. In a Ridge Holland silver prism, sold for $3.47 shipped. And again, you're paying $9.38 per card. Yes, you may pull the Braun Breaker and sell it for $25. You may pull a silver that's gonna, make your money back. I think there's the sell sheets where I think the box says 2 autographs, but I think I saw a sell sheet that says 1. So 1 or 2 autographs, but look at the checklist and you may say, well, what if I pull a Hulk Hogan autograph? Well, yeah, or John Cena Color Blast that I talked about at the beginning. Yeah, you did well. You made your money back. But what are the odds that you're going to pull one of those? Slim. So that's how I look at things. And some people may say, well, that's a pessimistic side to look at things. It's a smart way to look at things. Look at the floor, not the ceiling, because the floor is your Ridge Holland. If his number to $2.99 is selling for $2 and his silver is selling for $3, his base prism is probably not selling, and it's going to be in the quarter box. And you paid $9.38 when it's broken down. Yeah, you may have got $25 for a Braun Breaker. Maybe you pulled a big auto, but again, maybe chances are you're going to pull a Ridge Holland or a Xia Li. I'm trying to think of some other. I think I've got the checklist up here. So it's top heavy. You've got base checklist. You've got the last 10 cards: Mick Foley, The Rock, Steve Austin, Undertaker, Triple H, Hogan, Batista, Trish Stratus, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Andre the Giant. But you've also got Indy Hartwell, Zach Gibson, Mace, Jordan Devlin, Carmelo Hayes, Noam Dar, Santos Escobar, Xia Li, Umberto, Tamina, Ridge Holland, Lash Legend, Joe Gacy, Wolfgang, Joaquin Wilde, L.A. Knight, Nash Carter, Brutus Creed, Wild Boar. It's just loaded with no names. And I'm a wrestling fan. So I am very happy that I did not buy any WWE Prism because it would be fun just to buy a random hobby box just to see how you did. But it's not a fun exercise when it's going to cost you $1,350. But it would be interesting to see. Okay, here's what I pulled. Maybe I'll look at some breaks and just check it out. So DR says there are lots of WWE Topps Chrome autograph cards out there, way cheaper than the Prism cards. Kind of wild. Prism's the new shiny thing. People want Prism. It's the first year of Prism. There's a lot of demand for it. It's more this product. It's more because it's Prism as opposed to it's wrestling. People want Prism, and so I'm not surprised that there's been this much hype and popularity surrounding the product. But it's just, to me, looking at just some of the different numbers, not going to do it. Enjoy the wrestling talk going to bed. Have a nice Monday. You too. Thanks, Dan. Let's do this experiment on YouTube breaks and save some money. There you go. Happy Monday to you, John. So that's about all I wanted to touch on today, almost an hour in. So tomorrow I do want to, maybe tomorrow I'll talk about the state of the hobby and why I'm a little pessimistic. I am pessimistic on where we're headed. And I'll show you some numbers. I'll share some numbers from my own store and just kind of in comparison. Touched on that a little bit ago. And just like Jenny mentioned, there's been, I've seen some that surprised me. Like, I need the money. Some Twitter accounts that I was kind of surprised to see that, where people have overreached in their spending within the hobby. I saw one where it's a sad story where spent too much on the hobby, has kids, and it's almost like an addiction. That's how I was reading through the tweets, where he needs to stop. And it's sad because it is gambling. Unfortunately, the hobby there's a lot of gambling aspects within the hobby. There always has been. And it's sad to see how people can get wrapped up into that addiction. So that's I hate talking about the negative, but I want to be real and not be what's the term? Pollyanna. I don't want to be a hobby Pollyanna. I want to share the good, the bad, and unfortunately the ugly. Jenny says it's totally an addiction. We are all addicts. I do believe that. I definitely have tendencies, addictive tendencies, which in some cases has been very good for me. In some cases has been not good. So it's all how we control those tendencies. That 70s card show, I think Bo is in Hobby Hotline tomorrow. Set your alarms. Yes, I almost forgot. And I actually, this morning, I'm like, oh, I need to promote that, because I think the last 2 times I've been on, I've failed to promote it on my show. So yes, tomorrow night, Hobby Hotline, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central. I'm on with Mike Moynihan, which I'm excited because I've never even talked to Mike. But I feel like I know him because I watch most of his videos. In fact, one of his videos, Bench Clear Media and Baseball Collector on YouTube, he had his dad on, who has a fascinating story. His dad ran camera for baseball games, like Texas Rangers games, football, basketball. So I implore you to watch that video. Mike Moynihan talks to his dad about his dad's career in sports. Fascinating story. Is Hobby Hotline on YouTube? Yes, it is. Just type in Hobby Hotline and it pops right up. It airs every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central. There's a different panel of 3 each Tuesday night. And then on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Central. So, and Uncle Rich. So I'm on with Mike Moynihan, so I'm excited about that. I'm also on with Uncle Rich. So these are 2 of my favorite Hobby Hotline hosts. John is among the panel, I believe the newest panelist, and he's made his debut. So I'm really excited about tomorrow's show because I think Mike, Rich, and I can we could probably sit down and just talk hobby for hours. And I think we all, have similar interests and similar hobby knowledge. That it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow night. So tune in tomorrow night. Always awesome to hear Uncle Rich share his thoughts on the hobby and his history in the hobby. Mike as well, and then me. and then you get me. So Mike seems very authentic to how he portrays himself on YouTube. Definitely. He's definitely one of the people that I haven't met in the hobby that I do look forward to meeting at some point, hopefully at the National. OG says, I just picked up a Nolan Ryan farewell statue yesterday at Portland Card Show. When I saw it, I instantly picked it up as a surprise for Mike. I'll see him in Dallas in a few weeks. Awesome. That's very cool. John will try to catch it on YouTube. Can't wait to see you guys on there. So yeah, Hobby Hotline overtime tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central. So that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for the great chat. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Please subscribe. And back on tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central. See you then.